Hello, fearless gamers, and welcome back to another episode of The Joy of Painting Minis. And we are continuing on with painting our Winged Vampire Lord. And so, let's dive right in. What we did last time was we painted up his skin, and gave his skin a flesh wash. Then we painted up the little, bone piece going off the back of his headdress here, or whatever you want to call it. And then we gave his cape a dark blue color. So we're going to continue on using the following colors that you see on your screen. And first and foremost now is since his cape and his arm are pretty much done, we're going to put that aside. And I'm going to finish up painting the headpiece. So I'm going to first by getting this, it's this black color. That way, because I think I'm going to give these like a grayish, like a gray horn type of look. Not sure if horns would actually be gray, but he's a vampire, so don't have to really go into super realism here. So we're gonna go into this, water down our black a little bit, and then paint up these little horn things, because they're usually painted up as horns on the GW site. And at first I thought it might have been a collar, but then I was like, it looks too round to be a collar. And so I'm going to do this, paint that up like that. And so now, just gonna decide, I guess I'll talk about this a little bit, is this whole, not sure if it'll be out by the time, hopefully not, by the time this episode airs, is, 9th edition, and that whole thing going on. Everyone's been talking about these latest rumors, and all this jazz, and my thoughts, honestly, are, these rumors sound more like an add-on, sort of like how Storm of Magic was just like an add-on piece. It wasn't the next edition, it was just a different way to play the game. And I think that's what End Times is going to end up, is what this is building up to, is like some sort of, like epilogue, a continuation of a story, a campaign for those who want to play that sort of game. And I think that they're waiting up to build up 9th edition, essentially give us some time to enjoy the changes that would be brought on by the events of End Times, and then once they feel like it's run its course, it's played its game, then do a whole like soft reboot, as in the armies will some things will change with the armies and such, but the factions will still remain the same. I'm finding it very hard to believe that GW is going to do such a dramatic change to the whole thing that everyone says that they're going to do. And also, before I continue on with this little ramble of mine, I'm going to paint up this earring in black as well. I think I'm going to give that a silvery look. This is where the detail brush is key, because of these very small, tiny spots that we gotta get with our brush here. Okay. And then that up. There. Now, what was that? Paint that up real quick. Man, I messed up his ear a lot. Good thing that hopefully won't be super noticeable. And so we are going to give that a moment to dry. And then we're going to proceed with giving the bone piece on his back there a shade. That way, help define out that color a little bit. And since it's a small area, I'm just going to use my detail brush instead of the wash brush and just get it nice and all up over this bone piece here. And this one, as you can tell, I did not water down so much. I feel that the heavier shade makes for a nicer effect on skeleton pieces than a watered down effect. So that's why I'm going a little bit more generous with that. So with that done, dry off our brush here and move on. So we're going to put that to the side, give it a chance to dry a bit, and then we're going to, I think, work on this piece a little bit. Nah, gonna do this little bat guy, I think. Or am I? What am I gonna do? I haven't really decided yet. So we will paint up this little bat guy here. We're gonna base coat him first. That way he matches up with the rest. That way we can, and well, yeah, base coat him. Gonna give him a black look. Give him like a black bat type of look here. So gonna take my ratty base coat brush that get as much out of it before I switch over to the one that my girlfriend gave me. So we're gonna paint him up here and get him all black. And in case, like, how long, just your point of reference for how long I've had this thing, this is metal, and when I purchased this guy, like I said, 5th Ed Finecast had not come out yet. So this guy's been sitting doing nothing for quite some time. And all in all, I think the model is cool. I think the bat dude here is a little much. But painting them up anyway because I don't feel like dealing with green stuffing up the hole to get rid of the spot where the bat's supposed to go, but I think it's a little much for the model. And plus it looks goofy because he's supposed to have like his mouth open with his tongue sticking out and it just looks weird. I think they should have, if they're gonna put the bat on him, then okay, but I think they should have just left him with like a shut mouth or something instead of this like silly, over the top tongue thing going that he's got going. And I guess you wouldn't really call this a bat. I guess you would call it one, but it's got a really long tail. So then again, I haven't really looked at the bat units in this game, so I don't know if this is just what the vampire count bats look like, or if this is something else, but I'm gonna call it a bat, because that's what I think when I see this guy. Okay. Okay, let that piece dry a bit. Before I do though, let's get that one last bit there. Okay. Let that dry. And let us get the glue so we can glue the Vampire Lord's head to his body and then move on. So because of how small it is and how tiny of a space I have to work with, I'm going to use a pair of tweezers to get this glued on there. So we're going to take our glue here, deal with the overflow from being pressured up. Okay, and then take the tweezers, grab the Vampire Lord's head, and just put a small dab of glue. A little bit too much, so dab. Come on. Go. So now I'm going to give his head a little bit of time to dry so the glue stays on. Okay, we are back, and I apologize if you hear a lot of beeping in the background. Sent out a message to some of the other Fearless about a news piece that just came out. Probably mentioned it on the Facebook page. After I finish recording this video is the whole BFG RTS strategy game that's coming out, which I am excited about because I am a huge fan of BFG, and I am very angry that Games Workshop stopped supporting it. And that's kind of one of the backing reasons for the Doranport videos, was to get some BFG love out there on the web. So we have just glued on his head to his body, so now we are going to move on with finishing up the flesh tones. So we're going to take our layer paint that we're going to be using for the flesh tones here, and using a detail brush, we're going to paint up all the areas that we want. Like we did with Cypher and all those other models, we're going to pay closer attention to the raised areas while minimizing how much of the recessed areas that we paint. So I'm going to take my color here, get it nice and gotta wet it down a bit, and we're going to start painting. So focusing mostly on the raised areas. And another good thing about the wash is the wash kind of helps guide us to where these highlights should go, because you can see where the wash doesn't touch, and that kind of tells you that's where a highlight should be considered being placed. And the reason we glue the head on first after stopping without finishing it, kind of like doing part of the step first, is this way when we get to this stage, which is painting up like the highlights and such, it'll be easier to tell where the highlights, what parts of the paint model I should leave unpainted, and it will make the painting process go a lot quicker, because I won't end up painting parts of the body that won't ever be seen and should have actually been left shaded. And because if you paint the whole thing and don't like create... Oh, his head popped off. Huh. So gonna have to fix that later. But anyways, not making your own highlights and, for lack of a better word, letting the model, letting light, the light in like your table, your game table and such, generate the shadows for you, works. But the big issue with that is it looks more like an action figure, and if that's what you're looking for, then awesome. But if you're trying to get a more realistic look, not painting your own highlight, not painting your own shadows and highlights, just doesn't work out that well. It ends up causing the model to just look like a toy, than anything else. And I used to, and I do this, and I know this from experience, because that's how I used to paint my models, and get his head out of the way. We will fix that later, because I don't want to waste more time trying to glue that on. And so that's why it's best to work on painting shadows yourself. It is a tricky business, and it takes a long time before you get really good at it. Like, I'm still learning and working on mastering this technique, but in the end, you get such better results, and you'll end up being much happier with how the model looks than if you don't. And besides, you're spending all this money on these miniatures, should put in a little bit of effort to make them come out the best that they possibly can. So here, hey, a little bit of that underarm there. Help define that line a little bit. Okay. Now, also one thing with this is there's going to be times where you're going to wonder, does this piece need a little bit of highlight? Is this too much, too little? I find when you get into those situations, it's best to stop, take a break, move away from the project, and continue with it later. Because you don't want to end up making a choice that you regret. And you can always add on. To take away is a little bit more tricky. So it's always best to sit and think about it and then go back to it later than it is to try and work it out right there and end up making a rash decision that you end up going, why did I do that? Painting these little spice these abs here a little bit. Centerpiece a little bit. There. Okay. Now we move on to the other side. So now, Fearless Gamers, I've got a question for you guys. What are you painting right now? Like, what's on your table? What projects do you have going right now as you're watching this video? Curious to see what you guys are doing. Me personally, aside from this little vampire count dude going, I'm repainting all of my Thousand Suns. Want to get that up and going, and I'm getting into demons, but not actually playing an army of demons. I'm getting into demonology, so I picked up a couple of different demons that are summonable and with the demonology book, and I'm gonna start seeing how running the demonology stuff runs, see how that feels, see if it's anything interesting, and it might lead into a demon army, who knows. But that's what I'm up to, is painting up my Thousand Suns when I'm not working on the Joy of Painting Minis projects here. And so leave in the comments what you're working on right now. Is it a model, tank? Like, what do you guys, what's your latest projects that you guys are working on? And also, are you working on them while you're listening to this, or are you doing something else? Just curious to see what you guys are doing. And like I said, probably won't be able to respond to most of these comments because, like I said, this is all pre-recorded, so by the time like this video goes out, like the next 3 episodes will already be in the can, waiting to be posted up. And the reason we do this now is makes it easier for us, and it's a lot easier to get them out on time than they were before. So that's why everything's like pre-recorded, and in these particular episodes, not as much interactive interactive with the comments as some of the other shows, like the podcast and all that. Just because to save on time and to make sure that these episodes get out to you on a weekly basis without any hassle. And so his skin there is done, and we are just about out of time, so we're gonna leave it for now. When we get back, his head will be glued back onto his body, and we'll continue finishing up the flesh tones here. So that is all for now. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, take care.